Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Rough, Tam Cowan and Darren Jackson here with us on this Tuesday. And I've just spotted, great to have you with us, Tam, with your baseball hat on. That's fantastic. Great to have you join us.
It's fine, Peter. I'm street today, so carry on.
Absolutely. Listen, you always catch us by surprise. Good to have you on. Lots to talk about. What a game. I thought it would go to the wire. I thought maybe extra time would determine who was going to be the winner last night in the final quarter-final tie. But in the end, it took penalties, and St Mirren just got there, Roughie. First of all, Roughie, before you answer that, are you okay? Are you going to be with us for the whole thing? Yeah, you're all right.
Yes, I'm quite stable now. I'm quite focused. I'm not falling off my seat or anything like that. Yeah.
The amount of people who sent goodwill messages, Roughie, and were really worried about you.
Yeah, I thought people probably assumed because it was the first day of drinking outside, I'd went for my lunch somewhere and got half cup, but that unfortunately wasn't the case.
Yeah,
I had a similar theory, Peter. First day of drinking yesterday, and Kyle Lafferty suddenly missed the Kilmarnock game last night. But I'm sure he was just injured. And I would put that down to almost the result. Absolutely no harm to St Mirren, but I've always thought Kyle Lafferty. I mean, he's had his issues here and there, but he's always been an absolutely brilliant goal scorer. 10 goals in the last 6 games, and that must have been a right body blow at the start of the game for Tommy Wright and all the Kelly fans who were tuned in. But you know what? It was a smashing game to watch. Absolutely brilliant. Really enjoyed it. And I know you'll come to the Motherwell game later on, Peter, but I enjoyed all the quarterfinals. I thought brilliant entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly lived up to the billing. Sometimes, Roughie, they can be instantly forgettable, but really good games, and of course, extra time and penalties.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to talk about the penalties. I thought both of them weren't penalties. I thought the St Mirren boy had got his foot in before it, and I thought the goalkeeper had got there before the defender for the equaliser. But again, the goalkeepers are the star men, and they're the ones that are taking their clubs through. I actually thought that was Xander Clark who was in goal again last night. Are they two related at all? They just copy each other the way they look at each other. I mean, they're absolutely dead ringers. They must phone each other all the time and ask what they're going to be like and what they're wearing. But no, they were fantastic saves. They were great, and I really like it when a goalkeeper wins a game because you lot give them no credit whatsoever. So well done to the both of them.
Well, I do think, Darren, I don't know how you feel about it yourself, but I do think taking a penalty is a skill in itself. You can practice it, you can become better at it, but the awarding of a penalty is certainly requires a bit of judgment. And I thought the referee got both of them wrong in regulation time and extra time.
Yeah, 100%, Peter. I thought both of them weren't penalties, but you know what it's like, and I can give referees a hard time, Peter, and you sometimes go back to the studio and say Sky have got 20 cameras and you still can't decide if it's a penalty. The first one was it was close. It wasn't a penalty, but it was close, so you can see where the referee's probably coming from. But and I'm not saying I didn't myself, but players do go down quite easily, and because there's no crowds there now and you hear them squealing, it kind of, you get a reaction from the referee. Is it a penalty? Is it no? And he just makes a decision and he gave a penalty, which you'll look back and think, no, it wasn't.
Yeah, and if you're in a situation, I'm going to leather you if you just keep turning into Tommy Cooper during a full 60 minutes. I'm just going to say, Tam, there's a situation where you're actually hoping your defender just clears the ball away. I mean, the St Mirren penalty was a farce.
The St Mirren penalty was a farce, and I could see how it was going to pan out at that point, Peter, because you remember Jim Goodwin's well-documented lashing out at players who dive, players who effectively cheat. And I thought, but the only thing I think it was saving Jim Goodwin up to that point was there wasn't quite the defining angle. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you couldn't quite see what exactly had happened at that penalty claim. But, you know, it all makes for, I know Tommy Wright saying, when Don Robertson, when he's man enough to come and tell me exactly why he awarded that. I think that was maybe Tommy just blowing a wee bit of steam off in the immediate aftermath of the game, you know. But it's easy for me to say, watching it as a neutral, it was a great game, just a great spectacle, very, very exciting. But as you say, ultimately a very sore one for Tommy. But his main kind of objective, of course, Peter, is just to keep Kilmarnock clear of the bottom two places in the league, and he's well on course for doing that. So I think he's done the job he was brought in for it, Kelly.
Yeah, and Doyle, the Kelly goalkeeper, Roughie. I mean, listen, his goalkeepers were certainly on top, but the first goal he lost was an absolute howler. I mean, I just looked at it and I thought, what are you doing?
What he's doing is trying to catch it too early and taking his. It was an easy catch for him, and he's obviously been thinking what he's going to do once he's got it in his hands, and he's just taking his eye off the ball altogether. And unlucky for him, it went in the net, and another day it might have just slipped through his hands and hit the bar or something like that, or somebody headed it off the line. But no, it's a horrible start to a game to lose a goal that early. But he redeemed himself a wee bit later on in the game. He had some really quality saves, but yeah, he'll hold his hands up and say, sorry guys, you know, that's a bad one for me.
Yeah, it's that type of thing, Darren, where you go into the dressing room and you just beat yourself up about it.
Yeah, Peter, listen. See, nowadays it can be all about counter-attack. When the goalkeeper gets it right onto the counter-attack, and he's probably thinking, where am I going to throw this before I catch it? Listen, players do it as well. You go to you're looking and someone's making a run, and you go to take a touch, and it just bounces off you because you're actually looking where you're going to play it. So the goalkeeper's the same, especially the goalkeeper, because there is a lot of counter-attacks from the goalkeeper actually kicking it out or throwing it out and you're away. So he's obviously been thinking of that.
Yeah, and as ever, the worst thing, Tam, is Rory McKenzie, who in the end, the goalkeeper makes the save and it proves to be the decisive penalty. It's just that for me is a nightmare because, you know, everybody's consoling you, but you just want the ground to swallow you up.
Absolutely. The only thing that kind of amused me a wee bit about the penalties, Peter, and maybe even bemused me, is that I would need to have seen a camera angle going right across the goal line, but you know, I thought we had this rule in place about the goalkeepers had to keep at least 1 foot on the goal line when the penalty was being struck. See, if you look back at a whole rake of penalties for the quarter-finals from, you know, 3, maybe even 4 of the games, 3 of the games rather, that took place over the weekend. You know, I wonder if, just so not to open a can of worms, because you could be having retakes forever, quite frankly, if you always ordered the kicker to take it again if the goalie came off the line. I don't even know why the rule was brought in the first place. But, you know, it would be very, very interesting to have a look back. But again, see, to stay positive, Peter, I think the best thing you can say, I was almost puzzled when we started the show today thinking, right, how did all the games pan out in the quarterfinals? Because there was so much action, so much incident, so many goals, so many penalties. That you actually kind of confuse yourself trying to remember what happened. So I think we just rejoice in the fact that even when we've no get fans inside the ground, and they will be back soon, that we can still conjure up some cracking games like that in Scottish football.
Yeah, and it's very rare you get a Scottish Cup final or even a semi-final now that hasn't featured one of Darren Jackson's clubs, and the semi-final is absolutely it's absolutely no different. All 4, I know, because you've obviously been there at St Mirren as well in a coaching capacity. I actually smiled last night.
For 5 minutes.
He's got all. Yeah, you were there for 5 minutes, but it was an interesting 5 minutes to say the least at St Mirren. But I mean, of the 4 that are there, Darren, you know, Hibs clearly are the favourites, but I picked St Johnstone yesterday. I just think there's something about St Johnstone under Callum Davison that it could be a year to remember for them.
incredible, Peter. I said at the start of the season that they had a slow start, but they're a good side. They look as though Callum and his staff, they're really well coached, and they know the three at the back and the five in midfield, Liam Craig sitting, the two strikers do well for them. And the wee boy McCann, I think he's going to be a star. I think he's an excellent player. So, listen, Hibs are going to be favourite. Hibs have got threats, obviously, up front, at the back. They're solid. I like Jackson Irvine in the middle of the park, Peter. So I think it's going to be great. You look at the quarterfinals; they were brilliant. As Tam said, they were brilliant. Dundee United, what a fantastic result going up to Aberdeen. I mean, you look at the defending, even like Aberdeen's defending for the second goal, Ryan Edwards' header. There was 4 Aberdeen players round him. So Dundee United will take a massive lift from that, Peter, because you know how hard it's to go. It's a derby. You know how hard it is to go to Pittodrie and get a result. So I think that the fourth, Jim, I think 3 of the teams is Hibs, St Johnstone and St Mirren, Peter, been to all semi-finals. I think they've been to both semi-finals. Has St Mirren, St Johnstone and Hibs been to all the semi-finals this year?
Well, that's a good question. That is a good question, Darren.
Because it was St Johnstone, Hibs, and the League Cup semi. St Mirren got to the semi-final. Just lost out. You're absolutely right. Great shout, Darren. I would never
Peter,
on that.
Peter, perhaps when one of your viewers tuned in could maybe answer Darren's question on Facebook. Here's another one that somebody texted to me only today, and I don't know if it's true or not, or if you've heard that apparently this is the first season since the inception of the League Cup in Scotland that neither Rangers nor Celtic have featured in one of the 2 domestic cup semi-finals. Does that sound a bit right?
Yeah. No, it does, because we actually mentioned, I think yesterday on the show, Tam, I mentioned that very point, that it was 1947, I think, Tam, the last time that you had a situation where Rangers or Celtic were not in the semi-finals. So it's a long time. So it's a good point that you make on that.
But Peter, just sort of getting back to the three teams, I think you have to give enormous credit to the players and obviously the staff for the cup runs that they've had. I think it's fantastic that 3 teams can be so consistent that you're not but possibly Hibs, but you're maybe not expecting to get to 2 in one season. I know Motherwell, Tam Motherwell did that a couple of years ago. So I think it's great credit to the players and the staff.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I did mention yesterday as well, I know Niall Kane's picked up on it, the last team to win a double out with Celtic and Rangers, Aberdeen in 83-84 season. It's been a long time, and boy, would we love to have that in a regular occurrence. It would mean that clubs are getting stronger. And there is a point that I'm going to make regarding finances coming up a little later on that may well allow some clubs to get stronger, to get to a position where they're able to buy better players. But as far as the semi-finals themselves, Roughie, it's Dundee against Hibs. That will take place on the 8th, which is a 4 o'clock kickoff. And then the other semi-final takes place on the 9th, which is a 2:15 kickoff. And that, of course, is the Battle of the Saints, St Mirren and St Johnstone. So suddenly we've got 2 great semi-finals to look forward to. I think Hibs Dundee United is going to be an absolute cracker, Roughie. And then the 2 Saints. I mean, Jim, who gets manager of the year? I mean, apart from anything, Steven Gerrard's remit was win the league, stop Rangers winning it, Roughie. And then you've got these, semi-finalists here. If Callum Davidson wins a double, you'd be hard-pressed not to give him it. If Jack Ross gets Hibs in there and they win the cup and they finish 3rd, that's a brilliant season as well.
Yeah, that's when you start getting a debate, about manager of the year, where you start bringing in the budgets and, what you've got to play with and everything like that. There's no doubt about it. Steven Gerrard, if they'd won the double, was hands down. So it just opens a debate. A lot of people will think Steven Gerrard winning the league the way they've won it and they haven't been beaten. But you're certainly right. Callum Davidson wins a double at St Johnstone, went nowhere anywhere near the budget that Rangers have got. That will open a debate of who should get it and who shouldn't. And the same as you say with everybody else, it's just been a fantastic season for particularly the smaller clubs. So They've still got to do it. At this moment in time, for me, Steven Gerrard is manager of the year because of what he's done. The other teams have still got to come up with the goods.
Yeah, I agree with you. And of course, it might play into the hands of the decision makers making the call later on, Tam, because sadly for us in our night out, we won't have the PFA Player of the Year awards because they're going to obviously announce everything, online, and they're not going to get that chance to have the big night for obvious reasons. So it may well be that everybody gets a chance to make a later call on who the manager of the year is. But I'm in Roughie's camp. I think Steven Gerrard is the man.
I was going to say that exactly. You took the words out of my mouth, Peter, because quite a lot of times in years gone by, for a variety of events, even club events, Manager of the Year awards, Player of the Year awards are given out. I always thought far too early. When they can be given out before maybe even a manager or a player could clinch a cup double or even a treble, courtesy of the Scottish Cup final, and the argument was always, well, the players, they'll be finished up, they'll be away, they'll be on holiday, etc., they'll be flying abroad and all the rest of it. But of course that's not necessarily going to be the case this year, so I would like to see them hold it off as long as possible. I kind of agree with you with Steven Gerrard, Peter, because I think such was the scale of Celtic's collapse that it's kind of taken a wee bit of the gloss off it for Steven Gerrard, just actually what he did achieve at Rangers. Because you imagine if it had really gone to the wire and Celtic were looking at 10 in a row and Steven Gerrard had managed to snatch it away for Rangers and win his first title, everybody would have been saying he was absolutely right up there. But because Celtic basically haven't kicked their own backsides this year, it kind of unfairly perhaps on Steven Gerrard takes a wee bit of the shine off for him. But it's a real dilemma for the folk in charge of the decision, the folk that have got to vote, because I've always argued, Peter, that Manager of the Year, the word manager means that you have to manage. And you could argue that unlike the backing of the board, the financial backing that somebody like Steven Gerrard's had, Callum Davidson clearly has not had that sort of backing. And if he could pull off a quite astonishing cup double, you'd almost need to think he's been robbed if he's no Manager of the Year.
Yeah, it's a great shout. It's a brilliant pub argument, Darren, isn't it? I mean, what you don't want is a few swallies, and then you're suddenly trying to come up with a winner. As Tam says, Callum Davidson will be hard pressed on his budget. The reason why I think Gerrard and Roughie highlighted it there as well is this is a Celtic side that has a far bigger budget, Darren, than Rangers had, and he just gradually just built a side, built it again, better players, get rid of some of the deadwood, and then started to convert the draws into wins, which for me, people are talking about the collapse of Celtic, but this was a relentless Rangers in my mind.
Yeah, so listen, Peter, Rangers won it. I just think Manager of the Year, I think a couple of years ago, it just amazed me that Brendan Rodgers won the treble and Jack Ross won the Manager of the Year. And the people will say about budgets and all that, but obviously you know how hard it is to win a treble. But listen, Steven Gerrard could rightly win it because the magnitude of this season, where they came from, and this was history to the club. And the pressure that they were under at the start, it didn't look as though Celtic were under as much pressure because they were flying, they'd won 9 and everyone just expected 10. So the pressure, and I've been in that position, Peter, when I was in part of the team, and the pressure that you're under to stop it. So there's no doubt Steven Gerrard will be in the running, but Callum Davidson has to be in there, even if they get to the final. I think it'll be a hard push between the two of them. I think top 6, as I said, where they started, they came in, they didn't start the season really, really well, but to get to the top 6, to win a trophy and to get to another cup final, I think it'll be a dilemma that people are like that. God Almighty, who is Manager of the Year?
Just looking here, Roughie, it doesn't look as if we're going to be moving this cup final from Hampden now. They were trying to get an alternative venue for it, Celtic Park, Ibrox, Murrayfield as well, but it doesn't seem to be financially viable to get 2,000 fans in. I don't think they think it's worth it. So suddenly no fans inside the ground for the cup final, which is a real pain, isn't it?
Oh, it's been a pain all year, particularly for these clubs we're talking about, who probably at the start of the season, if you'd asked them, were they going to get to a final, they wouldn't even be thinking about it. They'd just be thinking about survival or maybe getting into the top 6. But now, obviously, St Johnstone have been in one already, and this time, the other 4 have got a chance when not expecting it. They're losing out. They're losing out big time. A lot of the fans have never seen their team in a final, particularly, and winning it as well for a long, long time. So, that's a disappointment. They just have to get their head round. But I would think nearer the time, maybe the clubs will arrange something, and I know it'll be on the television, but they've got a chance to arrange something if their team is successful.
Yeah, 2,000 fans at the best of times is not great, Tam, is it?
No, but Peter, I think there's a solution here. I mean, there's two ways of looking at it. They're saying that places like Celtic Park, Ibrox, Murrayfield, and I think even Tynecastle was mentioned, would not have been available anyway because they, the minute the league season is finished, they're meant to be getting extensive work done at their grounds as well. Maybe the pitch, maybe the terraces, whatever it might be. That's fair enough. And then it was reported that the other reason that they couldn't do it anyway is because of the relatively small crowd. It wouldn't make it financially viable. But correct me if I'm wrong here, Peter, the Scottish Cup, and it's an absolute abomination that's the case. The Scottish Cup doesn't have a sponsor this year. So what about trying to get some sort of compromise? Look at a stadium that is not getting major refurbishment done to it, that is available, that could hold, let's say, if it was a Hibs against St Johnstone final or a Dundee United against St Mirren final. Look elsewhere for a stadium. And in terms of then the costs that would be incurred with the stewarding, with the folk working in the turnstiles, with the COVID protocols, just bring in a one-off sponsor and somebody that will pick up the tab for that. I think that makes perfect sense, and I don't see why it can't be done.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things like that, Tam. I mean, listen, finding sponsors at the best of times seems to be a big problem in the Scottish game, but nevertheless, we wait to find out. I mean, I think Fir Park has actually finished some of the major works in the is the John Hunter stand, is it, that's had some major work?
It's looking great. Alan Burrows is putting up pictures on social media every day. It's really, really coming together. And when I went over a couple of weeks ago on an essential trip, Peter, we had a meeting about the 30th anniversary Scottish Cup final do. We're having online, sadly, on Tuesday, May the 18th, but I'll get that wee plug in anyhow. We've got 6 legends from 1991 who have taken part in it. And then at the end of the night, Darren Jackson and Jim McInally are going to throw boots at the referee and start crying. So please stay tuned to the end of the broadcast for that. Promises to be a great night. But yeah, Fir Park looks absolutely brilliant, and I think you could easily host a final at Fir Park. I don't know, get a big Motherwell related business involved in it. I'd give you John Boyle
Tam,
first
Tam,
shout at it.
You know it's the William Hill Scottish Cup though.
Is it William Hill still?
Yes.
It is. Right, well, why were you allowing me to continue with this?
Well, the reason why is because there's about 17 different characters on the screen at the moment. 1 minute you're a cowboy, next minute you're Orson Welles, and now you're Tom Brady.
Well, you know what? Your wee heart will melt. Your wee heart will melt when I tell you what this is all about and how much money that an anonymous donor is giving to charity. To me wearing a variety of hats today, so it's all for a good cause, and it's all thanks to PLZ and yourself, Peter. But no, I didn't realise there's been a lack of sponsorship in Scottish football, and incidentally, we've got Premier Sports have taken a bit of a kicking for only apparently wanting to show Celtic and Rangers games, but hats off to them, no pun intended, because I see that it was just announced today that they've backed the Scottish League Cup right through to season 2026-27. Take any money that's going now in Scottish football.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they deserve tremendous credit for getting involved in it. Yep.
Can they not use Easter Road? Have they said they can't use Easter Road?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I think they've exhausted every avenue on this with regards to making it financially viable. I think there's lots of stadia that's perfectly feasible to use, Darren. I'm not so sure it's about the stadium. I think it's actually financially, it's just not worth it.
Do you know the reason why that they can't have any fans in for the Scottish Cup final, but 1 week later they can have 12,000 fans in for the Euros?
Again, you've absolutely got me on it. I haven't got a clue where the difference is.
And I just thought it's strange that they can't have anybody in, then they can have 12,000 in the following week. So is that UEFA?
Darren, if you're only talking about Hampden, yeah, it's exactly that, because basically the keys get thrown to UEFA at the end of the season, and then they prepare it for the European Championships, and in that interim period, they are going to be getting all the COVID protocols put in place. So they basically can't have an attendance, a crowd in at the stadium in that time in between. So, okay. And apologies as well if you can hear that. That's my wee Doug.
Yeah. Is he sponsored today for anything? Maybe he's done a deal to get sponsored yapping in the background.
He's only going off his head because I've had 7 different wee hats on him the day, and he doesn't like them at all. It was but no, Peter. You know what I was going to say? My apologies for not being up to speed with the sponsor of the Scottish Cup, but. Well done, William Hill, but they've already then done their bit. Good on them for sponsoring the competition. I still argue that if it did just come down to pounds, shillings and pence, get another sponsor on board purely to pick up the tab for that. I think my point still stands.
It does still stand. They could play the final somewhere else, but whether it's Murrayfield or Fir Park or whatever. If Hampden, and we're well aware of the fact that the UEFA is taking it over in time for the Euros, but another stadium would be more than willing, I'm almost certain, to pick up, any amount of fans that they eventually agree on to go in and watch the final itself. So we'll see how that all develops. An ever-changing landscape on this one. That story can grow arms and legs by the time we get nearer to the cup final, depending on what discussions they have. But to be absolutely honest with you, the one thing that really heartened me, Roughie, was the fact that the Scottish Cup final winners will be guaranteed a minimum £3 million Euro jackpot. Now, this is the potential now to go into a Europa League playoff or go into this new Europa Conference League as a safety in case they don't make it. And on the basis that out with Celtic and Rangers, the performance of every other side in Scottish football has been abysmal trying to make it to the Europa League group stages, then you would imagine it's nice to have a little safety. But this safety involves £3 million, Roughie, and I think that will help a club enormously in maybe attracting better players and then just trying to, make that step up and increase the quality again.
Well, the 4 teams are up for grab to get that 3 million. I maybe take Hibs out of the equation a wee bit because they're probably better off than the other 3. But the other 3 with £3 million in their bank when the manager goes to meet his board, and that is in the bag. I'm sure he'll be asking for a better quality of player, or maybe a longer term player, a young boy to get on a longer contract, a bigger contract that won't make him look down in England. And that's the assets of getting that £3 million. Obviously, if Hibs do get the £3 million, they'll see it's another chance to establish themselves at the top of the league. But as far as the other 3, it would be absolutely mega bucks. And they could start talking about challenging the 3rd and 4th if they got the right players coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. So every penny is welcome. Now, with the semi-finals all completed, the quarter-final games completed in the semi-final draw now, everybody's aware of who's going to take on who for a place in the Scottish Cup final. So we thought it was the perfect time for Gabriel to pick his team of the week.
Zander Clark claimed the equalising goal in the 122nd minute and then saved 2 Rangers penalties to send Saints through. Paul McGinn got plenty of crosses in from the right and he set up Christian Deutsch's opener. Ryan Porteous commanded the backline and scored the winning penalty for Hibs. Joe Shaughnessy sent the game to extra time and also converted in the shootout. Ricky Lamy started the Motherwell comeback with a volley that any forward would be proud of. Ali McCann was everywhere for St Johnstone and coolly slotted the winning spot kick past Alan McGregor. Jamie Mcgrath assisted the Buddies' first two and scored the third. He is as cool as you like from 12 yards. Ian Harkes was at his box-to-box best as United battered Aberdeen at Pittodrie. Tony Watt changed the game for Motherwell when he came on and fired in a header to send the game the distance. Mark McNulty put in his best performance all season, scoring twice for United. Greg Kilty was the best player on the park and could have had more than his one goal.
There's an interesting selection, Darren, of the 11 players that he's gone for. I'll tell you, of them all, the one that really is catching my eye, Darren, is Jamie Mcgrath. I like him as a player.
Yes, I've watched him a few times, Peter. He's done well. He's, as Gabby said, very, very cool from the penalty spot and very accomplished, very nice on the ball and all that. But I'll go back to when I was speaking about St Johnstone. I've watched him a few times, and I know through Tommy Johnson, who's with Northern Ireland, that Alan McCann's doing exceptionally well for St Johnstone and for Northern Ireland. So, but it's a good team. I think everyone's in that team. Everyone's played their part over the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Tam, what about the news that the Scotland squad can now be expanded to 26 for the Euros? UEFA has just announced this. So suddenly you get to a situation where people are starting to put names forward. A Nathan Patterson, a David Turnbull, dare I say it, Darren will smile here, a Ryan Gold.
Well, again, Peter, we kind of mentioned this a few weeks ago when it was bandied about that there could be an extension to the international squads. And I still look, I've got a blind spot for Lee Griffiths, as you know. And, as I keep saying to MD, will listen, even if it was just to stick him in the bench and bring him on as an impact player in any of those games at the Euros. We all know only too well what he can do. He doesn't need 90 minutes to put his mark on a game. I give you the England game. You imagine us bringing him on late against England again and happening to get awarded a couple of free kicks at the edge of the box. It could be absolute dynamite. And I do think there's scope for that when we do already have, we've got a large squad anyway. So I would like to think there's a wee bit of almost experimental selection going on with the other places that are up for grabs, rather than bringing in folk who are basically a bit like the other guys that we've already got in the squad. So Lee Griffiths, it would be for me any day of the week.
Yeah, Richard says, what about Billy Gilmore? I'm really kind of the change of manager at Chelsea, and the writing was on the wall, Roughie. Once Frank Lampard was out, you just got that sense that Billy Gilmore was not going to get a sniff at Chelsea. And I think that's paid to anybody really accelerating his cause for the Euro squad.
Yeah. No, I think anybody that we've been talking about, the Gilmores, the Galls, the Griffiths, the Turnbull, we've got games. I think the team are going away. Is it Portugal they're going away to for 8 or 10 days? Take everybody. Take everybody you can take. Everybody's suggestion. Look at them for 5 or 6 days. Look at the level they're at as far as Lee Griffiths. Look at the fitness that he's in. See what you're like up front. Get a really good look at them. Play wee bounce games and whatever. And you can always cut 30 down to whatever you said it was there, or 32 down to whatever it was. And you give
26.
everybody a chance. And everybody that's been given a chance, if you're not picked at the end of it, it's no fault of the manager. So I would use this training camp to take as many as you're allowed to take. And that means you're keeping everybody on board. Nobody can say, oh, you never took Ryan Gold, you never took Gilmore, you never took Turnbull. Take them all. Take all the ones that are there, and let's see how good they are at the training camp.
Yeah. Is that a good idea, Darren Jackson? You've been involved in these camps before.
Yeah, well, it makes it hard at the end that boys are going to get a kick in the teeth that they've been given that kind of excitement that I could be going to the Euros. And then, as I say, you might remember what happened with Gaza when Glenn Hoddle told them. But I'm with Tam. I was asked last week about Griffiths, and the question was, beforehand, it was about a wild card, and I'd said a wild card. Griffiths is never a wild card. It is a little bit of a gamble because because you're worried about his fitness. But I'm with Tam. See, having on that bench, he's the best finisher in the league. He's the best finisher in the squad. He just needs he needs one chance, and you hopefully get that one. But going back to Billy Gilmore, Peter, I think that he was meant to be going out on loan, and it's kind of backfired. That the manager was so impressed with him when he first went in that he thought, I'm not letting you out on loan, I'm keeping you here. So it's kind of backfired on Billy for the Euros. But and again, going back to one of the players, Ryan Gold, how he's never been involved kind of amazes me for how well he's doing in Portugal. And we know that the expectations of Ryan going to be a star haven't really materialised just now, but he's definitely a quality player, and he would add so much to our squad.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, just in case you did miss it, it was something that Tam alluded to earlier, the confirmation and the statement from Neil Doncaster on this new deal in place for what used to be the Betfred League Cup is now the Premier Sports Cup. The first season's coverage of the competition by Premier Sports has been a tremendous success, with St Johnstone lifting the cup for the first time in their history. It's a very welcome endorsement of our game, especially at such a challenging time that Premier Sports have agreed to extend the term of their broadcast contract. For many years, our cup has been a vital and exciting competition, and the involvement of Premier Sports has certainly enhanced the prestige and awareness. I'm also thrilled that Premier Sports are showing their further commitment and increased contribution to Scottish football by becoming the title sponsor of the Cup. The Premier Sports Cup offers a new and exciting promotional platform for both parties. Yep, in the ever-changing landscape, we welcome any sponsor exposure, a chance to promote the game. That's what it needs. It needs good marketing, Tam, to try and change what a lot of people, I think, will have as an impression of Scottish football is a bunch of bickering, backstabbing people constantly bringing up negativity. Was that
well, again, as I say,
point?
No, again, as I say, though, Peter, they only had to tune in to those quarterfinals from from 5 o'clock on Saturday night. I was struggling to remember when the Hibs Mullow game kicked off. That's the one thing I was saying, Peter. We've got to realise our place up here, because I did think it was farcical that the Scottish Cup quarterfinals, the first one of four, the Scottish Cup quarterfinals, the showpiece event, kicked off at 5 o'clock on a Saturday. We didn't have one solitary game at 3 o'clock on the Saturday. So we know that the Scottish games are going to be shunted about the schedules. When the sponsors, the broadcasters are always going to bow and curtsy primarily to the English clubs. So, as I say, it's just a reminder maybe of where we are in the pecking order. So if we've got anybody that's wanting to chuck a couple of shillings at the Scottish game, then absolutely grab it with both hands.
Yeah, absolutely, because I think we need to take a little leaf out of the way they promote the English Premier League. And certainly I'd like to see more of that marketing ploy, Roughie, because there are many games down there that you wouldn't, as Tommy Docherty once said, draw the curtains to watch it. But there's the marketing of it, the feeling of you're going to be getting excitement, you're going to be getting goals. Doesn't quite materialise all the time, and certainly some of the games are a hard watch. But we've got to try, and I would almost adopt an American-style marketing to this, to try and get more and more sponsors coming interested in the game and bring more money into the game, Roughie.
Well, hopefully the opportunity for these teams that are in the semi-final would attract other sponsors to say, right, it's not all about Rangers and Celtic, because look, Rangers and Celtic aren't here. And look at the standard of football that these guys are putting up in the semi-final and the final, and that might just be another company, want to delve into it because it's clubs that are not there year in, year out, and that might be a wee bit of an attraction. But that's up to the individuals themselves. But certainly, I think it's a good thing, particularly if they put on games of the standard and the excitement that we've just witnessed over the weekend.
Yeah, Lindsay, I think Lindsay Buchanan makes a good point. They forget that some people are working And Sunday night 6:30 kickoff is not ideal. Listen, I only have to highlight sometimes, Darren, the journeys that Aberdeen fans have to make when it's nigh on impossible to get to some of the games because of the kickoffs. But if you've sold your soul to the television and take their money, then you have to embrace what they want.
Yes, probably the old firm feel it a wee bit more, Peter, when it's maybe a 12:30 kick-off up in Inverness or Ross County. But you're right, the Aberdeen fans coming down when it's a 12 o'clock kick-off at Hampden. So you've got to try and look at from the fans' point of view. I know that they're trying to get the best exposure they can, and obviously Premier Sports are looking at maybe a 3 o'clock kickoff when there's other games on, Tam, that maybe a 5:30 will get a better exposure for that, and then the Rangers game, and then a Monday night. So I can see where they're coming from. It's just changed, but I think you have to really take into account when the fans come back in, that where they're travelling from and how easy it's easy for them to get there, but the timing has got to be spot on for the fans, Peter, as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing that somebody highlighted, Tam, which I was reading some of the comments on social media, and one individual had highlighted, if you were a football fan who wanted to watch football and you loved your football, to try and cover all bases on it, as well as maybe a season ticket, which could cost you anything from £250 upwards. You're suddenly looking at a Premier Sports package to watch the League Cup. You're suddenly looking at Sky to watch the Premiership matches. You might even have to put in a BT Sports subscription if you wanted to watch European football. Suddenly you're starting to have no change out of £1,000.
No, absolutely. It does add up, Peter, and I've heard many tales of that down through the years for pals of mine, and maybe getting a wee bit jarred with their good lady wives, wondering why they were paying this, that and the other for these subscription channels. And, it's an awful lot of money. And I think if there's ever a time where the broadcasters and indeed the clubs should be aware of that, is after a year like this, and the terrific backing that fans of all clubs have given their teams. Fans who were only too happy still to take up season tickets when they knew the best they were going to get was watching the game on their iPads, their tablets at home. And as I say, mark my words, Peter, the fans that would be entitled to get refunds after the season that we've just had, I think there'll be a very, very low uptake in that, because every fan, if you're a diehard and be getting a season ticket, I think that equates you as a diehard. It simply won't happen. So I just hope the fans, as I say, after everything that's happened since March 2020, I hope we're kind of cut some slack, and the clubs remember, and the broadcasters remember that, it's not a never-ending well. The money's got to dry up for the punter at some point.
Yeah, Roughie, yesterday I mentioned to you, you missed, probably, I don't know if you missed it, Roughie, because obviously you weren't feeling too well. Are you still okay at the moment, yeah?
Yeah, bang on, yeah.
That's good, good. We're always worried about you.
Not going to make the game at Cove tonight, but I'm okay.
No, I didn't think you were going to make it for Partick Thistle against Cove tonight. But the one thing I was going to ask you, Roughie, yesterday we highlighted the fact that the Premier League, and again, this is all to do with the PR and the promotion of it, they announced that two people who would be inducted, the first two are Thierry Henry and Alan Shearer, two fantastic strikers. And here are the players who are on the next list of players to be considered to be inducted into it. Now, I'll read them out quickly, Roughie. See if you can point out who's missing in this. Steven Gerrard, Roy Keane, Tony Adams, Beckham, Bergkamp, Campbell, Cantona, Andy Cole, Ashley Cole, Drogba, Ferdinand, Fowler, Lampard, Letitia, Owen, Schmeichel, Scholes, John Terry, Robin van Persie, Nemanja Vidic, Patrick Vieira, and Ian Wright. So that's quite an extensive list, Roughie. It's amazing.
I know who you're going to say it's missing.
Well, I know as well.
Les Ferdinand, Rio Ferdinand, Ian Wright. I mean, honestly, talk about waiting to see if a legal case is going to go in his favour or against him. I mean, the greatest player who should be in, possibly there's an argument for him to be in before Shearer,
Anybody?
and Henry is Ryan Giggs.
13 titles.
Oh,
13. I mean, I mean, it must be down to legal stuff, Peter. But it's incredible that Ryan Giggs is actually. Listen, the two strikers that are in are just incredible in different ways. Unbelievable strikers. But how, if you're talking the Premier League and a boy that's won 13 titles, it's just I can't believe he's not the first.
yeah, absolutely.
There's another one. There's another one I missed unless I did miss it when you read it. It was Paul Gascoigne. His name wasn't there, was it?
Well, strangely enough, though, this is in English football, and this is something that I think a lot of people look and are amazed at. In English football, they think that the game was only invented from 1992 onwards, because that's the arrival of this Premier League. So it's the Premier League Hall of Fame, Tam. So anybody before that, including the greatest player ever to grace the English game, Kenny Dalglish, they're not in that link.
Yeah, and I know we're obviously not going to talk about Ryan Giggs on the show, but I wonder if it has been an oversight, because I hear what Darren's saying there, but I would go with the old adage that innocent until proven guilty. So was it just an oversight when they compiled this list, or have they just thought, you know what, let's just leave them out of it, we can maybe revisit it later? But some absolutely amazing names on it there, and I bet you could get a great first 11 out of that team, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's 6 that I think they're going to have to pick from that list. So there's more than a few in there that would whet your appetite. I wonder. I'm not going to ask you what player or or how many players you're going to pick from it. You can peruse it at your own leisure. A couple other things I want to get your thoughts on, lads. Of course, it's a great 2 nights of Champions League semi-finals. So, Roughie, if you're missing Cove Rangers against Partick Thistle, it's going to be absolutely worth it for Real Madrid against Chelsea and Paris Saint-Germain against Manchester City. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And by the way, it just shows you how mad. I mean, Real Madrid, for me, are at the centre of everybody's anger at the moment, Darren, because of Florentino Perez and his attitude towards this European Super League. But if you think about it, I mean, Zidane's been under pressure. They were calling for his head at one point. He's got the chance to win the Champions League again, and they're in the chance of winning La Liga.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Fortunately, Peter, I'll be watching Blackpool play Sunderland tonight at the Stadium of Light. So, but I might have
Yeah.
that's on the computer. I might have Real Madrid on the television. But you're right. He can go on. I think it's his fourth title for the Champions League, and they're second in the league. Barcelona have got a game in hand that can leapfrog the both of them. So, but it is. But I think everyone will be on Chelsea's. I know Chelsea were in the group as well, but I think Perez has put probably everyone against kind of Real Madrid just now. So I think they'll be going for Chelsea. But Tuchel's done an incredible job there. Mason Mount, who everyone slaughtered him and said he's Frank Lampard's boys, been a revelation under him as well. So it'll be a good game, but I just fancy Real will get the result tonight.
Yeah, I know, Tam, that you might not believe this, but in the 80s, when occasionally I used to hang about with him in Edinburgh, he was actually good fun. He was great to go about into pubs with. He was a great laugh. He was at the cutting edge. Jet black hair. He fancied himself as a bit of a looker. But now, watching Blackpool, I don't think you and I would even. I don't think you'd even get in the car and venture anywhere near Darren now, would you, Tam?
Peter, it's your job.
Yeah,
it's my job.
We know that, but I'm just saying to you, that's why we wouldn't be coming to your house.
I can have the computer on Real Madrid on the television, so the best of both.
Oh,
I can't really.
We're still not coming.
I can't really talk here, Peter, because I'll be watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire tonight on ITV. Can't miss that. Brilliant. And the reason for that, I'm being slightly facetious there. I will flick about probably between the games tonight. But again, Peter, and you'll back me here, the beauty of those Scottish Cup quarter-finals, certainly 3 of them, and even Dundee United's quite amazing. 3 scud against Aberdeen and Pittodrie. The beauty of those is that they were all played to a finish. and you know how I feel about European games like tonight. It's effectively only half time. And if money wasn't the be all and end all, and boy, don't the clubs who are playing tonight know that that's what it's all about. We were all made also aware of that with the fiasco of the European Super League. But if that wasn't the case, and at a time when we're trying to keep travel to a minimum because COVID is still out there, then those games, of course, should have been a one-off. They spin a coin and one of them's they play the tie one of your grounds, or they even go to a neutral venue for one game. But the bottom line is, Peter, tell me if I'm wrong, it is only going to be half time in those games tonight. So they won't generate, irrespective of what happens, they won't generate the same excitement as Kilmarnock against St Mirren. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's an argument to say, one of the best games that we've witnessed was Paris Saint-Germain against Bayern Munich. I mean, they just went at it hell for leather in the first leg and managed to replicate it in the second leg. Not quite to the same degree, but I understand the point you're making because, quite simply, the Chelsea manager, Thomas Tuchel, has highlighted that, listen, never mind what's happening now and the regularity of which everybody is playing, and as Tam rightly points out, home and away on this European semi-finals, it does tax everybody along the way and asks the fans to continually be putting their hard-earned cash on the table, whether it be watching it on a stream or watching it on terrestrial television or paying for it by subscription. But Thomas Tuchel saying it's going to get worse because he's not going to be a fan of the new Champions League format, which is even more games coming up in 2024.
Maybe I start with this. I'm not sure if I like it because I can only see more games out of it. And more games in a schedule that we have, it's very hard for me to be excited at all. And all these discussions about Super League made forget that we have now a new format of Champions League very soon.
Yeah, Darren, that is the point, though. There's a new format coming that was there to try and appease these big boys who wanted their own way, even over and above what they were being given.
Yeah, I mean, 100%, Peter. And when it came out last week, obviously the UEFA president was arguing his case and he went for them. But then they're coming out with the format of more games when there's no chance the top 6, 7, 8 managers in England, mind you, they'd be happy to be, some of them would be happy to be in the Champions League, but they need more games or want more games. And I know fans and people will say, "Oh, how can people no play? What's the problem with playing Saturday, Wednesday?" But when you want quality, Peter, you can't have too many. You can't have too many games. Yes, we love excitement, and kind of going back to Tam's argument, I do understand where Tam's coming from. But another game you can pick was Liverpool-Barcelona, the 4-0 game. Just the excitement of going back to Anfield, the atmosphere at Anfield. So, but yes, I agree with Tuchel. I think you can't have too many games, and I think it would just diminish it a little bit.
Yeah,
Peter,
the only
it's
reason
diminishing it. Peter, sorry, it's diminishing it a big bit. The very idea of more games. Now, the bottom line is, and I know you're a real enthusiast for games like that, Peter, and the very idea of Chelsea playing Real Madrid tonight, you can sit there in your living room and watch it on the telly, but compare how you're feeling right now about watching that game compared to if it had been 20, 25 years ago and you thought you were able to watch Chelsea Real Madrid on the telly. Then you really would be excited. But tonight, it's just got a feeling of so what about it. And that's why I personally think that fans worldwide might not have bought into the European Super League as much as the clubs clearly thought. If it had got the nod, if it had scooshed through and there hadn't been any protests and it had been rubber stamped, the very idea of these same teams playing each other again and again and again with no relegation, nothing at stake for the losers. And I agree with the Chelsea boss. The very idea of more games, from the punter's point of view, for the TV spectator's point of view, just think it's farcical. We're all going to be in a coma.
Yeah, well, to pick up on that point, Tam, I think you make a good point on it because everybody's talking about, it'll become boring, a European Super League. The UEFA Champions League will become very boring very quickly, Roughie, because of the fact that the big clubs are being fed a constant stream of cash and they will be contesting these semi-finals and finals, the same teams forever and a day from now on. It's not going to change, Roughie. We're going to get the same ones. And the reason for that, you only have to look at today. Liverpool released their financial figures, a £46 million loss in the year of the pandemic. And from 12 months ago, Roughie, that's an £88 million swing.
Yeah, I think if these teams are struggling with that kind of money, what are the other teams struggling with? And the bigger teams always seem to find it from somewhere, getting away from the fair play rules and all that, and getting much sponsorship. It's unreal. So it's going to be the same 8 teams in the last of the Champions League for a long while, and I think we just have to put up with it. I do believe they're giving up the away goal or something like that, are they, Peter, next year? They're trying to take, I don't know, they're giving it that away. Whether that'll make a difference, I don't know. Maybe teams will play a wee bit more attacking, or I don't know what their thoughts are behind that. But certainly for me, the rich will always get richer, and they'll be there all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'll tell you one thing, and Tam's right. He made the point at the top of the programme about the fact that we live in a small country. We're aware of our limitations, but we are so passionate. Per head of population, Scotland is one of the most fanatical countries for watching football. We love it, and we love our own game as well. So I certainly will be looking forward to Dundee United against Hibs, and of course St Johnstone against St Mirren. They're going to be 2 crackers that I definitely will not miss. But tonight, Champions League semi-finals, I'm going to try and push you on it, Tam. Who do you think is going to win? Real Madrid, Chelsea. First of all, who are you going for?
Again, because it's only half-time, Peter, the bookies is back open. I'm going up to put a wee line on the 2 games, and I'm putting on a wee double, 2 1 each draws tonight.
Right, that is incredible. Maybe, Tam, because you're going for the 2 1 each draws, you could maybe get in the car and nip through to Darren. You could maybe watch Blackpool on the computer as well. That would be great. Just the 2 of you sitting there watching.
Well, I mean the game. I mean the 2 Champions League games tonight and tomorrow night. But that's what I'm betting. One each draw, the pair of them. That's my bet. But I will watch that tonight. But Peter, it's half time. Unless one of the teams, I know what Darren's saying about the 4-0 with Liverpool, Barcelona, but unless one of the teams tonight wins by 5 or 6 goals, then nothing has been decided. It's a farce.
Yeah. Okay, Darren, take your computer to one side. Real Madrid against...
I think they've done really well defensively, Chelsea, Peter, but I think I'm going to go for 2-1 Real Madrid tonight. I just think they'll just have that wee bit too much. And I don't know if Hazard will start the game, but he'll obviously be in contention. He's going to be stripped coming on, and I just think he'll have that wee bit in him. Not to want to prove Chelsea wrong, but he's never really hit off there, and he'll want to show on the big stage that he's still a serious player.
Where's your money, Roughie?
I feel a wee bit sorry for Zidane, because he'll know that if he wins a double, he's every chance of getting the sack at the end of it, because that's par for the course there. So yeah, I'm going to go for Real Madrid at home. I don't know about the tie, but I think they'll win this one tonight.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I'm going to go for Real Madrid. Just before we go, by the way, don't forget we've got great details coming out about our new app, which I know you're going to enjoy some of the features on it and how you can participate in the programme as well. And of course, if you want to keep up to date with all the latest news, you can on our website, www.plzsoccer.com. Every day, Monday to Friday at 4 o'clock, we've got the show live. You can follow us on Facebook, share the stream, and also hit the subscribe button on the YouTube and join the football family. We've got some great competitions coming up, especially after the last one, which was very popular on the iPad, the Diego Maradona canvas and the Xbox. But I was going to ask you, Tam, how many hats did you manage to change into over the course of the hour?
1, 2, the one I've got on is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is a total of £350 for a very good cause. Thank you very much, Peter.
Yeah. Are you allowed to mention the cause?
Yes, me. No, the gentleman in question who actually watches the show most days of the week didn't want me to mention him or the charity, but £350. Well done.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done, Tam. And we like a bit of fun with you, bringing on the different hats there, of course. It's all about opinions as well. We'll have a bit of banter too. Hopefully you enjoy it and you can join the football family and stick with us on it. If you are at the night watching the Champions League and enjoying yourself, spare a thought for Darren Jackson, who's going to look at his computer because it's work and it's Blackpool. It's the big one. It's Blackpool.
Peter,
Who they play?
Wait there, it's an incentive as well because they're playing Sunderland and being an ex-Newcastle player. We're hoping we're going to beat Sunderland as well.
There you see that, Roughie. He's trying to put an edge on it now to give us the excitement.
There is an
I'm
edge.
not buying it. There's more enjoyment up at Cove, Roughie. Tell me.
Yeah, you'd be more enjoyment if you were staying overnight at Blackpool and watching the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, if we're allowed out soon, we'll all be heading to Blackpool for the staff night out. Who knows? Anyway, thanks to Tam. Brilliant
I'll
gesture,
get comps
Tam.
for the game, Peter. I'll be able to get comps
dancer.
for the game.
Oh, on the big one and then off to see Blackpool play, Tam. What more can I give you for a staff night out?
Well, I'll give you even better next week. I've just received a text there, Peter. As you know, the non-essential shops opened on Monday. Similar to my hat challenge, I'm going to do another one next Tuesday via my pal of mine. She's actually my big cousin. She's the manageress at an Ann Summers shop in Glasgow. So I'll be wearing some of their gear next Tuesday, so do not miss that. And we might need to put it on after the watershed.
That is fantastic.
What time do you get in?
Yeah, as you can tell, Roughie is back well, and nothing wrong with him now. Anyway, from Roughie, Darren, Tam, and myself, Peter Martin. Thanks for watching.
Expect the best